Although the next game by Telltale will be The Wolf Among Us 2, I still think in the future there'll be another Walking Dead game. Of course, a few years ago there were those almost too good to be true rumours of a Kenny and Javier game, but even before then, if you actually think about all the characters that you'd want to see again in The Walking Dead, they probably all think Clementine's dead. In today's video, we're going to find out where each of these characters could be, and how if we see them again, they probably all have the same aim, finding Clementine. And also, I'm sure you've already heard of Frag Pro Shooter. It's a big mobile shooter game that came out 5 years ago, with over 200 million players worldwide. Well, they've just released a new major update, its 4th volume, with brand new content, such as the new arcade modes, which brings 20 unique gameplay experiences, a new character, Miss J, who is basically a better, futuristic version of the character Jet, and a new cool map called City, inspired by a futuristic city look, which brings a fresh new gameplay experience centered around a dome. Frag have reached out because you can get free rewards, available only through the link in the description or pinned comment, so make sure you click or tap that link to instantly get them. You might as well, because again they're completely free. Even if you don't want to play Frag right at this moment, you might as well get these rewards for later, for when you do. Don't miss out and click that link. So I want to start with Javier, or Harvey. I think he's by far one of the most underrated characters in most things I've seen, which I think is mostly because A New Frontier didn't get received as well as the other seasons. The big thing people had with it was not being able to play as Clementine, and I think one of the worst things Telltale ever did was the hideous removal of Kenny and Jane. How they did that was so bad. I mean, Jane was awful anyway, but what they did to Kenny, it looks like they didn't even care about the character model to begin with. They looked awful and they were removed horribly, and so I don't feel like people were as open to Harvey and his story and how cool I think he was in that game. The fact that in the Walking Dead's comic universe he was a famous baseball player is really cool, and I don't think people think about that.
You're Javier Garcia, right? The ball player?
He was almost in the same realm as Beta in the comics, who was an NBA player, so probably knew of Harvey. Harvey would have known about him. At the end of A New Frontier, he takes over Richmond. He is the new leader. Jesus in the comics thinks he's right for it, and I get the impression that Richmond kind of became one of the communities that Jesus orbited around. You know, he went from Alexandria, the Kingdom, the Commonwealth. Richmond surely became somewhat a part of that. It all seemed quite a nice ending, but...
Okay, now, where to? Can't go back to Richmond. This whole area is a war zone.
This is basically their reasoning for having Clementine not go back to Richmond like she said she would, and instead find those kids, but really at the expense of the characters in A New Frontier. But who would Harvey be at war with? Well, you could literally say anyone. You could say Delta, which was Lily's group, but the actual evidence we have about these people...
From Richmond to the coast, back at the Delta, we're at war with some really sick who make me look like the Mary. We need people to fight it.
Now, I'm no expert, but if Abel's calling someone psychos, they're gonna be pretty bad. Combining this with the timing of when James said the Whisperers dispersed, they could have even got stirred up with the Whisperers, just as much as it could have been some disgruntled groups that were done wrong by Richmond previously when Harvey wasn't the leader. He would just be on the defensive. But above all of this, what's so important is A New Frontier ended with Harvey saying to Clementine to bring AJ back. Like, it was clearly them setting in stone that she was going to come back, but she didn't. Then she arrived at McCarroll Ranch when it was being destroyed. So all we know right now is Javier would have heard on the grapevine McCarroll Ranch was destroyed, and Clementine didn't come back. He probably thinks Clementine is dead. Of course, there is the thing of, like I said, A New Frontier didn't do as well. So you think, would Telltale want to do something with him again when A New Frontier's story made less money? To me, it would really be about taking Harvey out of that. Other than Harvey, I didn't really care or like the other characters in A New Frontier. But by doing something with Harvey again, it's fixing what they did right with A New Frontier. You know, have Harvey in it, have Jesus in it. These were great things about that game. It reminds me of Aiden Pierce in the first Watch Dogs game. People said it was too dark and miserable, but then in Watch Dogs 2, new characters, new location, the game was overall an improvement. But they still mentioned Aiden, and then in Legion, the third game, they gave him his own DLC, which I really enjoyed. They can do the same for Harvey without delving too much into his family or the frontier. Putting ourselves in Kenny's shoes, what does he think? When he hears on the grapevine that Wellington fell, he would be straight back there, making sure Clementine and AJ are safe. I also think it's really interesting that in the, what I think is the canon storyline, being a bit presumptuous, but I don't care, it's better, don't be foolish and shoot Kenny. He gives Clementine his hat and he walks off. Then when the third season starts, you can take the hat, but it never appears again. So what they could do in another game is have Kenny go back to Wellington, make sure they're okay. He finds his hat either in the room she was staying at or on the ground, because she could have grabbed it and dropped it while escaping. He picks up the hat, puts it on, and the game starts of Kenny's journey finding Clementine. What is Kenny's next step? going to Richmond would find out more about that war that Harvey was in. And when Kenny finds out that Harvey let her go by herself, and that the ranch is now all gone, Kenny, as impulsive as he is, would get into a fight with him.
Put it away! Now! Get out of the way!
But then they get over it, and it's them two on their journey to find her. And of course, another mystery is Christa.
Run!
In season 2, after she had died, Clementine had spoken to one of the bandits offshore that had washed up. Clearly, they had been beat themselves.
You were in the woods with Christa. The woman I was with. What happened to her?
And this conversation happening to begin with is revealing in itself, because the game itself sort of admits to how suspect it is, because they show Clementine is also unsure. She was there. Obviously, it's one of those things, she was shot off screen, they could just keep her dead, but they could very easily bring her back. But after that, what would happen to her? She's shot, she's escaped the bandits, she's by herself. Where would she go? Wellington. And bearing in mind a big factor here, that the games have accurately followed the timeline of the comics. We would have these iconic characters all going to Wellington. Wellington is in Ohio, where the Commonwealth is, which is how the comics ended. The sequel game is lined up here, even if they don't know it yet. Listen, please. Then there's also Molly, who was this lone survivor you meet in Savannah, Georgia.
Hey, going somewhere?
It's mysterious because she hasn't appeared even remotely since season 1. But what I think is so interesting about that is you can't kill her. You can accidentally shoot her, you can accidentally have her die, but it will give you a game over. There is no way to have her dead in your story. If she only appeared in one episode, she had all this charisma. She even had a name for her pickaxe.
Think I can borrow that hook thing of yours?
I don't know. Hilda and I have been through a lot together.
Hilda?
That's them wanting you to remember her character step 1.
This is Lucille.
But then just left and we didn't see her again. Why can't we kill her? All the other characters in The Walking Dead that you wish could stay alive. You can't kill Molly, but she was in one episode. I like to think that Molly was meant to appear in season 2 as Jane. Would have made that choice to either shoot or look away from Kenny make a lot more sense. This is one of those things that are completely open-ended. I don't like to say discontinued or cancelled. I think that's not accurate to what really went on with it. I think they just didn't do it at that time. Didn't think it was right to show her again in season 2 or 3, certainly not 4, but she's available. I think they all are. Once The Wolf Among Us season 2 comes out, I think Telltale and Skybound have everything lined up for an incredible story. Imagine how big this would be if they brought these characters back and just did a whole game of them putting right certain things that I don't think worked as well. So I think they put it right by having Javier, Kenny, Christa, and maybe Molly have their own game. Perhaps give some closure to certain stuff. But whatever happens, have them find Clementine. What do you think? Are there any other characters you'd like to see? If you had to choose one out of these 4 ones I've spoke about, who would you choose? If you could have a game with just one of them. Press the like button on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.
I knew it. Lee, I knew she was the one who's been following us. F***ing with us.
Get that finger out of my face, Grandpa, before I jam it straight up your ass.